Evening. I'm Mike Stone, the Vice Chairman of the Board of Selectmen, and I'm filling in for Mark Forrest, who can't be here tonight. So I'm going to read the required notice for the hearing, then we're going to pledge allegiance to the flag, and then we're going to go to a series of fire department promotions. I see a lot of the fire personnel are here. We're very happy to have you here. This is to formally advise you that is required by General Laws, Chapter 38, Sections 18 through 25, and pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, signed into law on June 16, 2021. The Yarmouth Board of Selectmen will hold a public meeting on Tuesday, February 1st, 2022 at 6 p.m. in the hearing room, Yarmouth Town Hall, 1146 Route 28, South Yarmouth. The public is welcome to attend either in person or via the alternative public access provided using Zoom, with full Zoom instructions posted on the town's website, yarmouth.ma.us. Please rise for this Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, our first item tonight is fire department promotions and new hire recognitions. I'm going to ask, is our chief here?
Oh, chief and deputy.
And our deputy chief, Chief Simonian, to come up and acknowledge the promotions and the new hires.
Good evening. Let's bring the, okay, Scott, Matt, Lindsay, who am I forgetting? Adam? Scott in here, Matt, next. Tradition states that the shield badge is similar to the shields used by the Knights of Malta to defend themselves, while the cross design comes from the emblem painted in red on their shields. Both the American Fire Service and the International Red Cross have direct ties to those to designs of those shields used by these medieval knights. Legend tells us that these knights of old, for almost a millennium ago, had a creed or belief that their purpose in life was to serve those less fortunate. They held that service, honor, and integrity, what they may have called gallantry, chivalry, and courage, define the service to others that they perform and we provide today. Firefighters are the only service in the United States authorized to enter a home, business, or property without a search warrant in order to fight a fire and protect the common good. Think about that. Firefighters can enter a property, whether the owner is present or not, for the purpose of extinguishing a fire, and if left unchecked, would do devastating harm to others in that neighborhood. By our very nature as firefighters, residents will invite us into their homes during the worst day of their lives, knowing that we are there to make things better. This public trust is a tremendous responsibility and one rarely afforded to anyone. Society decidedly holds us to a higher standard of conduct, and when one of us fails that public trust through wrongdoing and misbehavior, that is a reflection on all of us. So every time you pin on your badge, whether to be sworn as the newest firefighter or as a veteran firefighter being promoted, remember the trust it represents and the higher code of conduct we collectively must uphold.
The folks that are going to be doing the pinning, could you please come forward?
Go ahead and stand. Hand him the badge to you. Paul.
You guys can come right, you guys can come right in front of the table here, so you have enough room. Yeah, come on up. Plenty of room.
Follow them.
I mean, after that nice introductory speech, we don't want you hiding people.
There you go. It's fine.
So how we'll do this is we'll do it quickly, but I'll just briefly state something about each individual. And as I'm done stating about the first person, then we'll do the pinning and we'll move right now.
You guys can come right up and take pictures. Don't be shy. Come right in.
I don't know where you
You can come right up front.
Yeah. Anywhere you want.
Captain Scott Smith, he'll be on your far right. Captain Scott Smith. Scott was hired June 14, 2004, promoted to lieutenant on July 19, 2016, and promoted to captain on December 22nd, 2021. Scott takes great pride in learning everything he can about the fire service. He has a bachelor's, is working on a master's in emergency management, a graduate of the Mass Fire Chief Officer Program, is a Mass Credentialed Fire Chief. Scott is assigned to C shift to replace the position created when Captain Tom Lundquist retired. Scott will be pinned by his son Aiden, and also in the audience is his wife, who I saw a minute ago. Oh, Leanne. Captain Leanne Smith of the Howard Fire Department and Princess daughter Blakely Smith. Go ahead, Aiden. Lieutenant Inspector Matt Burris. Matt was hired December 21st, 1998, promoted to lieutenant May 19, 2004, and promoted to lieutenant inspector January 7th, 2022. Matt is a returning inspector who previously held this position for 3 years. Matt is a longtime member of the department's fire investigation team. Matt is well-versed in any position within the department and comes from a firefighter family, having both parents retired from the fire service. Matt will be pinned by his wife, Ann. Lieutenant Adam Reicher. Adam was hired on September 9th, 2000, and promoted to lieutenant January 3rd, 2022. Adam is an excellent EMT who works with an unlimited amount of compassion for his patients. Adam is an excellent firefighter from a firefighter family. He's also a longtime rescue diver, boat operator, and relief fire alarm operator. Adam will be pinned tonight by retired YFD firefighter paramedic Paul Reicher, who I proudly served with for many years in the ambulance. And also in the audience, I'm not going to list all of them, but brother firefighter Ed Reicher of Dennis Fire Department, brother firefighter Andrew Reicher, former YFD call firefighter and now member of the Howard Fire Department, nephew firefighter Keith Kaplan of the Boston Fire Department, nephew Officer Austin Buttrick of the Yarmouth Police Department, and wife Joelle and daughters Ada and Marlo. And I'm sure there's a few more. I've seen some more.
Being a paramedic, I don't pay that the sign of blood. So it's okay.
If you stick them, you can fix them.
Awesome.
Firefighter Cody Neal. Cody was hired January 10th, 2022. Cody was born in Worcester, but moved to Sandwich at 2 years old. He attended Pope John Paul II High School in Hyannis, attended the University of New Hampshire for a year, and decided his passion was to become a firefighter paramedic. He left college to get the EMT license, and after that attended paramedic school and became a paramedic in September of 2021. Cody says he was lucky enough to do his ride time hours for paramedic school with Yarmouth Fire Department, where he met so many great people. This is when he knew that Yarmouth Fire Department was where he wanted to work. He is grateful for the opportunity, and we are grateful to have him. He will be pinned tonight by his father, Jack Neal, and also in the audience is his mom, Christy. Last but not least, Lindsay F. Fire alarm operator, or also known as dispatcher, Lindsay Conlon. Lindsay was hired December 27, 2021. Lindsay was born in Falmouth and went to Falmouth High School. Lindsay is an experienced dispatcher who came to us from a very busy dispatch center at Brewster Ambulance in Weymouth. She dispatched from Plymouth to Boston and out to Worcester. She was a communications supervisor while at Brewster Ambulance and also responsible for dispatch in Braintree Fire Department. When Brewster was awarded the 911 contract for the city of Framingham, Lindsay was instrumental in the smooth transition over to Brewster Ambulance. Lindsay and her family live in Yarmouth, and she wanted to work for the town she lives in. She wants to serve her community. Of all the dispatching she has done, she loves dispatching fire alarm the most. She'll be pinned by her father-in-law, retired Captain Wayne Conlon of the Dennis Fire Department, and also in the audience is her husband, firefighter Chris Conlon of the Dennis Fire Department, and her daughter Madison. If we could ask the pinning people to have a seat, we will now do a swearing in.
Good evening. Congratulations, all of you. My name is Mary Maslowski. I'm the town clerk. So I'm going to ask you to raise your right hand and repeat after me. I will ask that when it comes to stating your name and stating your position, that we go my left to right so that you each speak individually so that the audience can hear you. So please raise your right hand. I do solemnly swear and affirm that I will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all the duties incumbent upon me as a for the town of Yarmouth, according to the charter, bylaws, rules, and regulations of the town of Yarmouth, the Constitution and laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and the Constitution and laws of the United States of America. So help me God. Congratulations. We do have some paperwork.
That's permanent ink.
It is. It's not going back. Yes, please.
Oh, there's one more? I missed one?
I'll trade you, sir.
Two over here. I don't know. Did I get all those?
You did this one.
Yeah. Is that all?
Those are those.
And these are
Yep.
these? Okay. You sure?
Positive.
All right.
I'm gonna do those like this. Oh, it's me too.
That was my fault.
No problem.
Better organize my list.
No problem. We'll make it work.
Mr. Chief.
All right. We're in pretty good shape.
Pick that up.
These are beautiful. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Lindsay, welcome. Good luck. See you again. Hi, how are you?
Be safe, you guys.
Congratulations. Appreciate it. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. That was great. Thank you for the opportunity to do this. We really appreciate it. It's great for the town and the department. Thank you. Have a good night.
Chief, before you leave, I think I'm going to give the board members an opportunity to express their gratitude to the Yarmouth firefighters, to the leadership, and to those out in the field, facing numerous challenges and dangers on a daily basis to protect the safety of the citizens of this town and our visitors and so forth. It's great to have a ceremony like this so that the public can see the proud families behind these brave men and women. And I want to commend them too, because I don't know anybody who accomplishes something that is very much worthwhile all by themselves. Usually we have the support of families and superiors and mentors and leaders. And I'm glad that many of those people are here tonight to participate in this ceremony. So I'm going to first go over to my right side to Peter and see if he would like to make a few comments.
None of the fire folks are here. Were here a few years ago, but my mother was gravely ill, and the folks took care of her very nicely, very polite, and wonderful to deal with. And thank you very much. And my mom's gone, but thank you.
Thank you.
Casey.
We all miss Miss Gloria, Peter. It's extremely important for us as well as the public, because oftentimes we go through a process of looking at numbers, right? And what we always need to be reminded of, that they're not numbers, they're people, and they do an extremely important job. And so I think the citizens have always seen that. We do also see that too, but you know, as we go through our budget cycle every year, it's always a struggle, and we want to do the best for each department as we can, and keeping each one of you safe and making sure you go home to your families every shift. And that's an extremely important thing. So on behalf of the citizens, I know, like Peter, you've all touched our lives in one way or the other. And so we're extremely important for that. And I've always said I'd rather be in the hands of the Yarmouth Fire Department than in the ER. So when you have to make that transition, it's scary, but I think a lot of people feel that way, and we're extremely blessed. So thank you very much for all that you do every single day, not just the ones that are here, the entire department.
Thank you, Tracy. Dan?
Bob and I were talking before we began the meeting, and he was mentioning how this is like a family, the firefighters, the police, and the town. And I like to think by tonight's ceremony that we get to share in that somewhat. We are extremely proud of the people that we have serving us in this town, particularly the firefighters and the police. You guys are always going the direction that everybody else is running from. In this time of COVID, you have been unbelievably brave and caring and compassionate and getting everybody to the hospital who needs it, regardless of the peril that you put yourselves in. I am so grateful. I've taken that ride in the ambulance with some of you. My wife has, and the compassion and the ability to put people at ease when they're terrified, frankly, is just a real testament to the leadership that you have in this town and to the character of the men and women that serve in our fire department. I'm so very pleased to have this chance to be with you tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
So again, thank you. Let's give it up.
Yes.
You got more? Okay. Job, Peter. That was good. That was good comments. Like that.
Glad you gave us a chance.
The whole board should have opportunities to comment on things like this, especially first responders. They absorb a lot of risk. Plus, as you said, they're running. Was it you? That's great. That is the truth. Next item, if we're ready, is public comment. Would anybody like to be recognized to address the board? Somebody's gonna have to monitor the,
See it. You can see it, but I don't see any hands.
you don't see anybody?
I don't see any. Oh, there's a hand. Tom Sullivan.
Okay, can we recognize Tom Sullivan?
Hi, good evening, Mr. Chairman. How are you doing this evening?
Good, Tom. How are you?
Good. I'd like to bring up something that happened at your last meeting. It's on the appointments section. Mrs. Post raised a very good question in regards to an appointment of a part-time resident. And I'd like to know if the board's changed their policy on part-time residents being hired on boards. I don't know if that ever happened. It's always been our permanent residents are on our committees here in town. And two, on the appointments meetings, are they posted at town hall? I checked with the Attorney General's office to see the way we're doing it in town here with one person, and it's not subject to the open meeting law. And I think we should go back to two members of the board on appointments. So it's posted at town hall, time, date, and place. so the public would have a opportunity to attend these appointment interviews if they so choose. I think that it has been a long time practice. I think it stopped when Mr. Quirk was in the appointments chair, and I think it should be brought back. This is not the first questionable appointment. I still haven't got straight answers on the golf appointment where an unqualified candidate was appointed over a qualified candidate. All right. Highly qualified, and that's Mr. Holcomb. So, and of course, there's been no explanation unless Mr. Smith would address that tonight. All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Tom. Anyone else? Okay, I guess we'll move on to the next item then. Which is COVID-19 update. Bruce Murphy,
All right.
Director. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, Bruce.
Board of Selectmen, Bruce Murphy, Director of Health. I believe I also have our Board of Health members that will be with us tonight in case there's questions. They'll Hillard Bosky, Chairman, will be present. Mary Craig, Vice Chairman's present. Eric Weston, and I believe Deborah Brunage will be available also. I'd just like to say that was a great presentation by the fire department. As you had mentioned, they work very closely during this COVID pandemic, even taking precautions right from the beginning. And what they do is just unbelievable, as you've all said. So I'd also like to thank on our PowerPoint presentation, Bill Scott, our Assistant Town Administrator, for constructing the, moving me over and up to the PowerPoint presentation and updating the format and taking it up another couple notches from our last presentation. So I appreciate that. Let me grab my clicker. My excellent assistant I have here, Erica Polite, that puts it all together and works with the Bill and then make sure I get it up on the screen correctly. This is just the tables for people at home, that this is updated on a regular basis, so making sure they're looking at the most updated presentation. Where we sit as of yesterday, January 31st, townwide, there was 71 active cases. By month, looking at the last couple months, November, December, January, we can see where the cases were increasing dramatically into January, and now we're starting to see them dramatically decrease over the last several days. Here's the updated chart. We can see where it started on the far left in March of 2020. And then we see it vaccination, and then we go over to where we see the fifth wave to the far right, where we had 272 active cases in town. That has dropped off. We are down to now only 71 active cases as of yesterday. So you can see how quickly everything is dropping off. And that's probably to several reasons, vaccinations, boosters. Some people have had COVID. So that's pretty impressive that we're seeing that drop off. And then today, we've had our lowest. We only had 4 cases come in, positive cases come in today. I think we had 9 yesterday. So sometimes they do come in later today. So I don't want to say 4 is the date, because sometimes they'll come in as I'm talking here or later. But we're going on that steep, dramatic downward trend, which I think you're seeing statewide and on the Cape. The positivity rate, this is based on last week. It's the January 9th through the 22nd. It's a 14-day average. They keep moving forward every 7 days. So even though our positivity rate is still very high, almost 20 in Yarmouth, it is lower than what it has been last week. And you see most of the towns have gone lower. So we're all going in the right direction. And I would expect when it comes out this Thursday, we're going to see even a dramatic, continued dramatic decrease, excuse me. Case hospitalizations, we can see that they kind of peaked where we had about 63 on January 18th. And then it's gone down. So, I mean, this isn't a daily thing. So I know a couple of days it's been peaked higher at the hospital. So you can going down. Thanks, Bill, for putting a graph in here, because I think the graph on the right, you can really see it decreasing also. Fully vaccinated people, again, we're at 77% out of our total population. And obviously, we're continuing getting that message out to get people vaccinated. So I think it's two things when we're discussing this with the board is people, there are still some people that do not want to get vaccinated, which, you know, is their right. But I think the other question is when we say out of our population, we don't have all our population right here now. A lot of them are in the winter. So when we're trying to figure out what percent, you know, we probably have a good percent that's down in Florida or elsewhere right now. So it's hard to say, you know, we're doing pretty good when we say we have 18,000 vaccinated. So, and that would be the same thought with the boosters. That is still going. The clinics are running very well. The booster percent needs to go up a little bit, but the younger group, the children, I shouldn't say children, the younger adults that have been a little bit slower getting their vaccinations are now currently has gone 5 months and can work towards their boosters now. COVID response reporting. There's a lot of information on the state website. People that want to have more information can just click on this and they'll go to that. These will be live links. So when we post this up tomorrow on the town COVID website, people following this can just check on that link if they wish to get further information about COVID in general. Access to vaccination records. I mentioned this last time. I'm hoping it's working better. I know we all have had some challenges to make sure they have all our vaccinations, but they do have a site that people can look for. As we go into vaccinations itself, the county health department is still providing weekly vaccinations every Wednesday down at the county complex, basically 2 to 4 p.m. Walk-ins are welcome, or they can make an appointment. And they're offering all vaccinations, whether it's J&J, Moderna, Pfizer, first shot, second shot, or booster. So that's going very well. Again, you can walk in, call that number, or go to the hot link and make a reservation. Cape Cod Healthcare, which is Cape Cod Hospital, again, providing vaccinations. You can call that number. They don't have a website, but you can call that number to make an appointment. Appointments are readily available. I know last week when I checked with them on Friday, they had 14 appointments open for Monday. So appointments are readily available by contacting Cape Cod Healthcare. I could say you could walk in because I know some people have walked in down there, but it's probably best to call first to see what you can make an appointment. And again, that's Monday through Saturday, 8 to 6. Vaccinations are continuing at the community college. We know they went the month of January, 3 days a week, and that has been continued. The state oversees and provides funding for that, and they continued it into the month of February. So again, that again is first, second, and booster shots that are available at Cape Cod Community College. Also vaccinations at our local pharmacies, Stop and Shop on Long Pond Drive, again, readily available. And what we're seeing is appointments, people that want to get appointments can get them very quickly. Cape Cod Melody Tent is continuing their testing as we move in from vaccination to testing locations. Again, 3 days per week. And you can contact for an appointment through this web link, which is really the Barnstable County Health Department that's coordinating testing. Cape Cod Healthcare Urgent Care Centers also have appointments available, whether that's Hyannis, Sandwich, or Down Cape, so readily available. We move into the testing. United States Postal Service, the free test kits, 4 per family. Just go online and you'll get them out. I know when we first came on the middle of January, you could register and they said they would get them out to you by the end of January, 1st of February. So hopefully people will be seeing them very soon. And I signed up, so one of these days, or I know people who signed up, we'll find out when they do come. Take-home test kits that are becoming a little bit more readily available in town throughout the Cape. You still have to pay for them, but you can get reimbursed through your insurance. The town, through Mary Wagon Community Development, has purchased some through the COVID Money CARES Act that the town had available. We finished first phase of 500 test kits. We are now moving into phase 2, which will start next week, of approximately 2,000 test kits that will be available. That message will be going out later this week by Mary of who's eligible and where they can come and pick it up and the time. And there'll probably be the same locations here at Town Hall, and we'll be again working with the Senior Center for distribution. So that message will go out on the town Facebook page, Twitter, and then there'll be some announcements on that also. And then we still have a second round of phase 3 is we're working with the county health department. We participated in a bulk order with the county, but from their conference call today, they didn't get confirmation of when that would be delivered. So that might be a couple weeks away. So at least that we've had this ordered to begin with. Board of Health mask advisory that was issued back in August 16th when the board was discussing concerns and steps that need to be taken. The board then moved to a mandated mask indoors within meeting rooms on November 15th. Then it went to an indoor mask advisory, all public areas on December 7th. Following some of the headlines, you saw this at my last presentation, that just the headlines in pretty much the Cape Cod Times is what's been happening from November through December to January. We can see in November where it only had 39 cases starting off and then increasing. We go to December, concerned with hospital beds filling up. Then we look at the end of December with 1,800 cases, gone from 39 to 1,800 on the Cape. And then we end up in January right here. We can see COVID still skyrocketing, strain on the hospital, new cases up to 4,500, and slight increase in deaths. So there was really no other January update that we're going to put in here except for the blizzard over the weekend. So we held off on that. Frequently asked questions, that comes up from the board members here, the public that we hear, the public comments. So what we wanted to do was put a few together for the board, just to look at. I'm not going to go read them and go over them, but just to let people know at home. Hopefully everybody can see the slide. But will getting the vaccine impact the person's immigration status? No. Should people who have COVID, already had COVID, be vaccinated? Yes. How effective is Pfizer Moderna? Goes with single dose. People should get both doses. Don't stop after one dose that you need both. And again, these will be hot links to get more. This information comes from the Mass Department of Public Health. So I have 2 slides just on general of, is it safe to get the vaccine? I'm going to have a baby one day. How long after the vaccine does it take to be effective? It usually takes a couple weeks, 14 days. Does COVID, oops, I'm sorry, does COVID, oh, go way all the way back. I guess I shut myself off. Okay. That was pretty much towards the end. That's fine. That's fine, Erica. So we do have the question and answers. That's where I was ending at, that last slide, and I was going to show the last graph just as a talking point. So what we've seen is, I mentioned, the cases are dramatically falling off. We're hoping that's continued. We've seen that in some of the other Boston towns when they do the testing of the wastewater. They're seeing those numbers come drastically down. So I think we're on a good position. We're still very high. I think people still need to take precautions. You know, it's not the time to take the mask off at this time, but precautions still be taken. So that's the general update. I don't know, Mr. Board of Health Chairman, if you would like to say anything at this time?
Have to unmute 'em.
Got to unmute.
We can't hear you. You have to be unmuted.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sitting here for a while. That's sorry about that. Yeah, Bruce, thank you. Great review as usual. Bill, the PowerPoint is good. Just one comment now is one statistic we don't follow, of course, is staffing at the hospital. People working there are obviously at high risk for getting infected. So please keep those employees in mind and stay with the precautions. Thank you.
Okay, we'll go to the board. Dan, do you have any questions or comments?
Yeah, actually I do. Bruce or Dr. Bosky, people now are going to get booster shots, and sometimes they're presented with the option of having a different booster than the original vaccine that they got. Is there any thinking with regard to that? Is it a positive to get something different? Is it best to try to stay with the same manufacturer?
From my reading, it really doesn't make a lot of difference. People feel sometimes more comfortable staying with the same one. If availability is an issue, then I would get either. Just let you know, with the J&J vaccine, for the primary injections, they are not recommending a second J&J. They're asking that people get either Moderna or a Pfizer vaccine, and that would be 2 months after the J&J vaccine that they received. But absolutely get either one.
Thank you, Doctor. Just on the test kits, Bruce, any chance of being able to get the homebound one of those kits?
Yes.
Okay.
We will be working with the whole bound. We're also looking at working with people on Meals on Wheels. So we'll do both of those.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Jason?
That's great. No, I don't really have any questions. You've
Thank you.
gone through this material with us several times. I'm very happy to see the downward trend. And it's amazing to see the decline so quickly.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's a good thing. I hope we keep going. Appreciate it.
Peter?
Mr. Murphy, some good news, and hopefully it'll continue moving down. You mentioned at the Melody tent, it's 3 days. Which 3 days? Do you know?
Yes. I'm just going to refresh myself. I thought we had it.
Rita has her hand up.
Oh, didn't put it up there. I want to say it's, no, I'm going to just check the website because I just want to make sure it's accurate. That would be the best thing to do.
And also to sign up for the home test kits, the only way to get them is online. If someone does not have access to the internet, and this may be a question you can't answer, can they sign up via the library? Because I know the library has internet access.
Well, I think that the sign up for the test kits that through the post office.
Yes.
Yeah, I believe you have to go. That's a great question. You have to go online, so you could go to the libraries to do that.
Okay. Excellent. Excellent. Again, thank you very much for the update, and the PowerPoint is much easier to follow.
Thanks, Phil, for that.
I'm sorry. I'm told Vita Morris has her hand up. I don't know if she had a question.
I think you have to ask to bring her into the
He did.
meeting.
He heard you.
There you go.
Yeah, may need to unmute. Rita, check that.
Okay.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Yeah, this procedure. I have a question. If tomorrow I were to walk into a pharmacy in Yarmouth with a prescription for hydroxychloroquine, would I be able to buy it?
That I'm not aware of what the pharmacy is providing right now. I don't know if you've heard anything different on that, doctor?
It's not been in the news recently, so be easy call to the pharmacist. That's where I
Okay.
would start.
I know you can talk to your doctor when you get the prescription, so they might be able to inform you on that question.
Well, can I answer that?
Yes.
Because I have a autoimmune thing and I have been prescribed oxychloroquine
Yes.
at the very onset of COVID.
Mhm.
Prescription from your physician, because hydrochloroquine is not just COVID, it's for other things. So, I mean, how can they tell what a pharmacist is going to do? It's just, it's a silly question, Vita.
Well, I don't think so, because so many of the so-called professionals and doctors and scientists keep poo-pooing. They keep saying you shouldn't be using hydroxychloroquine in any of it for this. I'm perfectly aware of that it has other uses. It's had been in use for like 60 years or something, or more than that. And in
Vita, you're
fact,
asking-
at the
I'm sorry,
beginning
you're
of this, when
asking a
the
hypothetical question.
I mean, right.
well,
Right,
I guess I should have just called the pharmacist and asked the pharmacist, because I know that the medical community is very much against anybody using that. So I guess you can, what your relationship have with your doctor is what would, determine whether you would be able to even get the prescription. Thank you.
Let's go to Dr. Bosky for a comment. I would assume if you walk into a pharmacy with a prescription for your doctor, you're not going to be questioned. They're going to fill it, correct?
Yes, it's assuming it's written correctly by the prescriber, that should not be a problem. And certainly to get this kind of information, it's certainly not addressing the Board of Health or the health director or the select board. Obviously, call your provider, your health provider.
I have a question to either you or Bruce, and maybe I'm missing something. We see the number of cases, there seems to be a precipitous downtrend in the number of cases, and yet the infection rate is still pretty high. It's close to 20%. Why isn't the infection rate kind of paralleling the course of the actual infections?
The state is like 2 weeks behind on that, right?
Is that what it is? Is it because there's a lag
There's a
with
lag.
data?
Right.
It's a 14-day.
There's like a 2-week lag. So I think before we get it to a week to 2-week lag. So I think you'll see that come down over the next week and the week after. You'll see it drop very quickly.
Okay. Another question that I had, you mentioned that people that had the J&J should just go ahead and get the second shot with either Pfizer or Moderna. Is that second shot in the nature of a substitute for a booster?
No, at this point, it's a very good question. It's for the protection, that's what they're saying, 2 months, and get that to finish the primary. The issue is really getting a booster. Okay, that's what it's come to, regardless of what we have all gotten as our primary doses or our boosters. I can emphasize enough that our vaccination rate certainly has leveled off here. And we need to keep in mind, it's now going to be a second booster or the fourth shot it's already here for those who are immunocompromised. So the third shot is, remember, if it was Pfizer or Moderna, it was a wait for 5 months. And now those who qualify, another 5 months and a second booster or fourth injection. I can imagine what will happen is more and more people will qualify for a fourth shot. That's what's happening now. Certainly, if someone had the J&J, 2 months later gets Moderna or Pfizer, they would be able to get another shot 5 months after that.
Right, so the second shot actually is in lieu of the second shot for J&J, and then they would be expected to get a booster shot after that, about 5 months after that second shot.
That was my understanding.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
I would just like to follow back up on that Melody testing that
Sure.
town administrator gave me was on, so it's on Mondays at the Melody Tent 9 to 1, Tuesdays 1 to 6, and Wednesdays 9 to 1 at the Melody Tent for testing. And that's drive-in or walk-ins, no appointments needed. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Is there anything else? That's it? Okay, thank you very much for the updates. Appreciated.
Our pleasure.
Are we ready now for the public hearing on the special entertainment license? No, actually, we get the weekday and Sunday, and then the special. So, is anybody here to represent Aiden?
Yes.
You want to come forward, please? Good evening.
Good evening. If I may start, good evening, everyone. My name is Jean Roach, General Manager at the Aiden Hotel. Thank you, distinguished staff here, public, and folks on the Zoom. With me today is my Operations Manager, Mark Barbie, and Head Chef, Frank Macro. We are here in solidarity, respectfully requesting consideration for a license for our guests. I don't have to tell you all that folks come here with their, saved up 2 weeks vacation a year, and they just simply want to have a drink at the bar and listen to some acoustic music.
Hey, before we get into the merits of that, do we have the public notice? I don't seem to have that.
It's right here.
You have that? Is this microscopic one here?
I can read it. I can read it, Mike.
You can? All right, Tracy's gonna read the legal ad into the record to open the meeting,
Understood.
and then we're gonna let you go,
Okay.
okay?
Yep, sounds
Thank
good.
you.
Town of Yarmouth Board of Selectmen weekday and Sunday entertainment license hearing. The licensing authority for the town of Yarmouth has received an application for a new annual weekday and Sunday entertainment license from S&H Hotels LLC DBA Aiden by Best Western, Cape Point, 476 Route 28, West Yarmouth. Nilsh Patel, manager. Aiden by Best Western is applying for entertainment to consist of live bands with up to 4 pieces, including singers, recorded music, live music, amplification system, TV, and dancing by patrons. Hours of entertainment are 1 p.m. to 10 p.m. Hearing will be held on Tuesday, February 1st, 2022 in the hearing room at the Yarmouth Town Hall, 1146 Route 28, South Yarmouth. The Board of Selectmen meeting begins at 6 p.m. Written comments will be accepted until 4:30 p.m. Friday, January 28, 2022 in the Selectmen's office at Town Hall. Verbal comments will be accepted at the hearing. Published date, January 21st, 2026.
Thank you, Tracy. If you read that, you can become a sniper without being tested. It's microscopic print. So that's appreciated. So go ahead now, the floor is yours. Just say your name is Star.
I'm Jean Roach, General Manager at the
You're
Aiden.
Jean Roach.
I'm Mark Barbie.
Can you speak up?
Mark Barbie.
Mark, okay.
Francis Macro, I go by Frank.
Okay, Frank.
Okay, first of all, we also want to say, echo everybody's sentiments with the fire department. They've been wonderful to us whenever we have a medical. And thank you for the COVID data that helps us with tourism and questions there. Quite simply, we just want to have like an acoustic type music for our guests. We certainly all are cross-trained and work the front desk, and we get a lot of guest requests for live music, where to go. And I can't share the obvious point that we don't want to lose those tourism dollars to the neighboring towns. We'd like to keep it in-house. So that's basically the simple concept behind our request, just for the guest enjoyment and appreciation in a controlled environment. That's it, quite simply.
Okay, thank you. We're going to go to the public and see if there's anybody that wants to speak either for or against this application. Yes, come up to the, we got two. So Guy, would you please identify yourself?
I'm Nick Brady. I live directly behind the hotel. Their pool is my backyard.
Okay.
I just wanted to clarify, it's not really listed on here. Is this interior, exterior music?
It's going to be interior music, exterior out by the pool behind you. It's going to be just acoustic and maybe a steel drum, face painting, balloon making, stuff like that for the kids and stuff. That's about it. Nothing loud. We know you're there. We don't want to bother you.
Okay, so the last time there was a meeting, you guys had like the pool and alcohol, and everyone was agreed that was 9 p.m. was the time to end. So I don't understand why the music would run past.
No, the music is 10 o'clock inside. At dusk, we'll close the pool completely.
So there will be no exterior music
No.
after time.
After-
Okay.
After dusk. So figure about nine-ish.
And that's going to be in the pool area. They're going to be music, but it'll be done.
Every night either.
It's going to be done by 9.
Yeah.
Okay.
Give that a go.
How loud is your interior music amplification? Like do you guys have a decibel recording?
It's way too far away from us.
So it's going to be in another area of the hotel? Okay. All right. Yeah, so your pool and the whole music, everything's closed at 9. That's staying the same? Okay. That would have been maybe better to specify in the letter. So.
If you need anything, come see me.
So who is the general manager?
I
You're now,
am.
so you're the third general manager in 2 years, and I've talked to each one of them, and they've said they were going to tell me and talk to me, and then they never get back to me. And then there's a new general manager and never informed of this. So it's getting a little frustrating because I've actually saved emails and communications, and no one's communicating with me.
If it matters, just so you know, these two gentlemen live in the town, so they're very respectful of the needs of the town. I live in Falmouth, but I live near an establishment. I'm very respectful of that issue. We are all very proactive, not a reactive hotel, which I think the town.
Mark, excuse me, can you speak into the microphone,
Yeah.
please?
And I'm going to ask everybody to do that because when you get into cross conversations, a lot of times we'll lose certain words.
Mhm.
So they can hear you if you speak to us, and he can hear you if you speak to us by approaching the microphone directly.
We know that you have a small family. And
Oh, look at him when you're talking. Speak into the microphone.
we know you have a small family and we respect that. And we're not looking to, make noise or anything like that. It will be very respectful. And if you have any problems, contact me, Jeannie, Frank directly, and we'll solve the problem immediately.
Okay. Yeah, it'd be great to get you guys' contact info because, like I said, every time I've talked to multiple people, they're all don't work there anymore. It changes every year.
We're
It's
not going
getting very
anywhere.
difficult to communicate with anyone because no one seems to work there more than a year or less.
So what's your primary concern? Is it with the,
Loud noise past a certain point. I work every day. My kids got to go to school, camp. We need
no, but are
to.
you talking from indoor music or outdoor music?
I don't think the indoor music is going to be a problem if it's not even on that side of the hotel. I'm mostly concerned about the pool area. The pool area is literally my backyard. The only thing that divides it is a 6-foot tall fence, which you can still see into my backyard, which that was one of my other issues.
And,
But it's very
All right, so
loud.
let
in
me
that
go.
area.
Let me go to them for a minute and see. So, what can you do to accommodate him in terms of the hours that you play the music? You said dusk.
Yeah. So 8:30, 9 o'clock, it'll be over.
Would you agree that the outdoor music will end, say, by 9 o'clock?
Without a doubt.
Would that satisfy you?
Yeah, as long as it's not like, all right, we're gonna wrap up at 9. It's 9:15,
9
9:30. I
o'clock.
want it to be like done at 9 o'clock.
9
So
o'clock, it'll be
So
shut.
indoors 10, outdoors 9?
Correct.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And would that help you?
that would also, again, with the alcohol provision, it was Sundays was supposed to be 8 o'clock. I don't know if that can also be worked into the.
You would want Sundays to be 8?
Well, that's what their pool and liquor area was originally. So, I mean, it just seems to make sense that if you're not serving anything and the pool's closed, why would there be live music in
I'm
the
just
same
gonna ask you,
vicinity?
what about that?
That's not a problem. That's typically our checkout day, Sunday anyways.
Okay. All right, thank you. Does anyone else have it? Yes, gentlemen would like to speak. Are you speaking in favor or against?
Against.
Against. You can remove
But
it.
I heard a few things that are relevant to what I have to say. But my name is Russell Randolph.
Wait a minute, wait a minute. First of all, tell us your name.
Russell Randolph,
Russell. Okay, and where do you live with respect to this?
right next door to Nick. And the pool in question is less than 25 yards from my living room.
Less than how many yards?
25 yards.
25 yards. Okay, go ahead.
So our backyard abuts the white fence that
All right.
Nick was talking about.
Okay.
So one thing, if they were to stop whatever kind of music they had, if it were only acoustic guitars, I wasn't aware that, because they were talking about like 4 or 5 different kinds of instruments, but an acoustic guitar would be better than amplified. But what's to stop the people that have been there drinking since the early evening at 9 o'clock from lingering? They also create noise too. And my girlfriend owns 10 Rig Lane, which is right across from Nick. I've been with her for a little over 10 years, and I live there and pay rent, but she owns the house. She wasn't feeling well, or she would have come too. But she's 74. She's got a heart that's has a problem, but she doesn't go to a doctor regular to see it. But she does. She gets the numb left arm and everything, and I know it would drive her insane. I mean, she complains about the buses going past their idling time, which they do a lot of times. But, you know, if we call the front desk, they would probably take care of it. And then we had the tree trucks that were there in the fall, and there were usually 8 to 10 of those, and they were backed up as far as you could possibly get to the white fence that separates our property. And they always cranked up about 6, and they left about 7. And we never complained about that, but it kept us up for a good hour beyond when we would have normally gotten up. But we didn't complain. And there was also a light right at the end of the parking lot, one really high, I guess, security light. And like Nick said, we talked to the old managers, and they said, oh, we're going to fix it. We'll have it point. It wasn't pointing in their parking lot. It was pointing directly in our backyard. I mean, it lit up our backyard like a Christmas tree, but they never took care of that. Maybe these guys can, but you know, it's for their parking lot. It's not to light up our backyard. So those are just other things, but the music is the biggest issue. I know it would drive my girlfriend, who owns the house, crazy. So I'm just speaking in her. Luckily, I'm not there most of the nights because I work at night, but she's retired and she's there. And I just don't see any good result, you know, with if it's low key and it stops and there are no guys or women hanging out, you know. But that's been the case in the past. You know, they can stop the music, but they can't stop the people from running their mouths all night. And that's pretty much what I have to say.
All right, thank you. Anyone else from the public? Yes, I have 2 more people.
I'm Sandy Armstrong, and I live at 23 Coachman's Lane, which is right next door to Nick's house. The last summer, I heard a lot of the pool activity during the day. I'm retired. I have a deck. I want to relax. This is my home. Been there 35 years. Never had a problem until this ownership. And now we have the noise that we've never had before. I don't mind children laughing and splashing and playing and fathers playing with their children. That's fine. But I really don't want the music. And I'm wondering, when is it going to start during the day? I understand it's going to stop at a certain time at night, but when does it start during the day?
So she would like to know the start time of the music.
Could possibly be between 12 and 1, around those hours there. It hasn't been determined. Between 11 and 9 was what we were shooting.
The application says 1 PM. You applied for 1
Starting
PM.
at, right?
Correct.
Because
Yeah,
there was an
so we applied for
application.
1 PM. So basically the earliest we would start would be 1 PM, but and on the same note, I don't think we're going to get a lot of people that are going to be able to go from 1 to 9 o'clock at night either. We might have something in the afternoon.
Might have face painting or, balloon making or a magician for the kids in the daytime, and maybe an acoustic guitar in the afternoon, and that's about it, and wrap it up. But at 9 o'clock, the pool closes and everybody vacates the pool area. So there's nobody in that area after 9 o'clock.
So the pool area outside is going to be light entertainment is probably the best way I would describe it.
Yeah,
Inside's
tell
gonna
me
be the-
what light entertainment is.
Just, face painting, clowns, balloon making, a one-man band, one guy with a guitar.
Steel drums.
Okay.
The inside part, the second part where we're going to have entertainment inside at the bar area, that's where it will be amplified music, so on and so forth, 4-piece band, couple singers with the band.
Would these guitars be acoustic or electric?
Inside, they probably might be electric. We haven't hired any
But
bands.
they wouldn't be electric outside?
No.
No.
Okay.
The outside point of our going forward is to entertain the families. The inside part's to entertain the adults. That's why we're going 1 to 10.
Okay. Do you have anything else, ma'am?
No, I think that answers my question. I mean, I don't know what it's going to be like until it actually happens, but from what I'm hearing, it sounds like the adult entertainment, which could tend to be a little louder, is going to be inside. I will never hear that. The outside by the pool does sound like it's more family oriented, and it doesn't sound like it's going to be annoying or, to the point where it really is disturbing. That's what I'm hoping.
Correct.
Yeah, that's what it will be.
That is correct.
I
Thank
think there's a local, if I'm not mistaken, on our bylaws, it says all music has to be contained within the building. That when
Right.
there's,
There
when the-
is, but when we're looking at their
No, this
expanded
would-
their application to outside.
this would be,
it makes
yeah,
sense.
I'm talking about the inside music. It has to be contained within the building.
Mhm.
Whatever's going on in the building.
Correct.
Obviously, if you're near the pool, that's,
Well,
You
the
can't-
pool is at one far end of the building. The entertainment is closer to 28.
yeah. I think these issues are always trying to be a balancing act between the neighbors and the business, But did somebody else want to be heard? Go ahead, sir. Want to make sure I don't miss anybody.
My name is Gary Armstrong. I'm the husband of the woman that just spoke to you. We went through all this 2 or 3 years. I have literally called the point 3 times in the past for noise at the pool, and they were kind enough to quiet it down. I was grateful for that. I have a study in my home, and I find it rather annoying to be unable to concentrate due to noise. On top of that, there is a state law that says you cannot idle a vehicle such as those buses or trucks more than 5 minutes. 1 hour is not acceptable at all. There is up to a $29,000 fine for those things. And I would appreciate it if people at the point would make that known to the people from out of town.
All right, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to members of the board to see if they have any questions of you. And I'll start with Peter.
To me, it seems to be the issue obviously is with the outside at the pool. And you talked about on Sundays that it would end at 8 p.m.
Correct.
Okay, because that's not definitely outlined in here, but assuming that everything gets approved, I would definitely make that one of the conditions that everything ends at 8 o'clock. Steel drums can be quite loud even if they're not amplified. And that can be very irritating to neighbors, and the sound, given the frequency of the sound, it does carry a long distance. Acoustic guitars on amplified, the sound should not carry. I'm not sure that I would be in favor if I lived in the neighborhood of having steel drums outside. That's just my feeling. That the neighbors should be able to have the quiet use of their property. In terms of the inside music, I think it's a great idea. I think it's be excellent to have entertainment for your guests, so they don't head west to go to another town. And the improvements that have been made at the point are very good, and we would hope that this would help the motel be quite successful. Any thoughts on containment of music at the site? And also, as a side issue, if you've got a light shining onto somebody else's property, that is not good, and that should be corrected yesterday. If you need to speak, please go to the microphone, please.
I have multiple emails from the previous manager, like I said, addressing these issues of the light. They trimmed numerous trees again, so now they can just see into my property. They said they were going to extend the fence. They didn't. They said they're going to plant mature trees. They didn't. That light that's shining in there is a massively bright LED light that literally illuminates their entire backyard. I also have an email saying they were going to fix that. They have not done any of these things, and that's why I'm really concerned, because like I said, this is now be the third manager that I've talked to. They've all said they were going to take care of these problems. They said they would help out, and they've done absolutely nothing. So the promises are getting old because nothing's actually been accomplished or changed. So that's, we're all concerned as neighbors because they say these things, but what actually happens and what's being said are two different things.
Yeah, and in terms of vehicles idling, I know it's not your concern directly because it's whoever owns the bus company and stuff, but it is something that since they're going to be on your property, it would be good if you could communicate with the bus people or the truck people no more than 5 minutes.
We can talk to Eversource about that.
Right.
Because that's who was staying with us during the blizzard and all the reason why we have the trucks is for emergency purposes. They're staying with us.
No, I appreciate that you're there, and again, I have seen. I was at Barnstable Harbor yesterday, doing some stuff, and they weren't Eversource trucks, but they were hired by Eversource, and they were idling, and I was there probably 20 minutes, and there were 4 or 5 trucks idling, just sitting there. So I know it's an issue.
Can I say one thing?
Please go to the microphone.
As far as the tree trucks go, it's not just the noise that woke us up. We don't necessarily like being woken up at 6 o'clock. It's the fumes too.
Yes,
that means
absolutely.
You can't. We like fresh air. Even in the winter, we crack our window. If we did that, we could smell them. Not to mention the fact that the tree guys were all talking and whooping it up a little bit. But who needs to idle their vehicle for an hour? We're talking an hour. The buses were bad too, and they sent fumes over, in the fall. And I don't really like the fumes or the noise. So
Okay,
I think those two things could be addressed.
Right.
And that's as important to me I have no qualms at all about the kids making noise, but it's the pool shouldn't be more than just kids having fun. And an acoustic guitar, I wouldn't be against that, but I would hate steel drums. And I know my girlfriend would go nuts if she heard them. That's all.
Mr. Chairman, I don't have any more questions.
Thank you. Tracy?
I guess I have questions about the application itself, the detail of the applications. What they're asking for on the weekday is different than Sunday. And I understand that we're kind of meshing inside and outside on one. So I think that we as a board can look at those separately and make our decisions separately. I think we have a responsibility to make sure our businesses are successful, which we're all, it's very important to us to do. But we also have to balance that with the quality of life for our residents. So I have to say I'm a little bit disappointed. I know you're new here, so I'm not going to hold you responsible for that. But, being a good neighbor is extremely important, especially when you're in, you are trying to seek an expansion. It's hard to have confidence in that expansion when some of the initial issues are still left unaddressed. And like I said, I know you're new, so I think you should be given that opportunity to address them. However, I'm a little bit concerned about encroaching more onto that on the outside. So when you talk about a clown and balloons, I'm trying to figure out where in here it fits in, because you've asked for a 4-piece band. So I think that we need to craft a motion in our approval that really delineates what's allowed on the inside and on the outside. On the inside, as has been mentioned, you have the responsibility to keep any noise from your entertainment inside the building. So I'm not concerned about that, because if you're upsetting your guests, then you're only upsetting your own business. So, but I am concerned about, what's been requested here for outside, meaning, a potential band with 4 people.
No.
That's what the application says. So what I'm trying to figure out is exactly what you need. So that way, when we approve it, the neighbors know what the expectation is going to be on the outside.
On the outside is going to be an acoustical guitar.
So one person.
One piece.
One piece. Okay.
Not amplified. And again, I say steel drums. Somebody,
Could you live without the steel drums?
how about a harmonica? I mean, yeah, sure.
I mean, what I'm trying to do is,
Yes.
and
compromise.
here's how I feel about it. It's a fairly new business,
Right.
right? So you haven't been there that long. It doesn't preclude you from coming back, after you've proven that this isn't going to disrupt people's lives. It doesn't preclude you from coming back in a year or two and try, you know what I mean? And saying, okay, we did this, we've proven we can maintain it and keep a quality of life between the two of them, and ask the board then. I'm just telling you how I feel. I'm not comfortable with, a band being outside.
No, absolutely not. It'd be
So-
too loud for the neighbors. I wouldn't want it if I was a neighbor either.
Right. So, but that's what, when they get the application, they don't, like I said, the application doesn't differentiate from what you're asking for inside from outside. So we need to craft our license very specifically to what's allowed, so everybody knows what the rules are. Recorded music is fine. And you've already said 9 PM during the week and 8 on Sunday, you're comfortable with? Okay. And this is what was at our place tonight, is what was shown. Is this?
Yes.
So this is the fence where the neighbors are back here, and you plan on having the music up here?
Correct.
Correct.
Okay. So where were the speakers, so to speak, be? Just
The what?
the speakers? Will there
No
be no
speakers.
amplification
No
whatsoever? So you're
amplification.
fine with that? Okay. Okay.
Chairman, I just would point out for clarification that there was a revised plan along with the revised recommendation from the Board of Health that are both consistent, which was not in the original packet, but,
Is this the one, the revised?
right, and it shows.
So
Where it has the
40
yellow,
seats
the
total
yellow box?
With the yellow box,
Okay.
and it comes along with the positive recommendation for that amount of seats.
So have you read the comments from both the building inspector and from the fire department?
No, we never got anything.
Okay, well, I think it's really important that you go through these comments because some of them in terms of dancing, especially on the inside, you've asked for dancing. I think it's extremely important that you read the comments from them. Is there more than 100 occupants with the dance? Is that the interpretation, Bob?
No, there won't be.
They revised it to 40
Okay.
occupant, 40 seats total.
Was there another document? And I saw that email, but was there another document on the revised occupancy? Or was it just in the email?
It says it can't exceed 40. That was the most recent health
Right.
comment.
You see this one? Just so you have it handy.
Is this the one?
Now, the original, they had
That's
a
the-
do not
that's the-
recommend.
That's the original.
Right, and then they submitted this material that I think is near your right hand. There's
Which one?
It's attached to your plans. over
Attached to the
here.
plan?
No, it's right here. It says not to exceed 40.
I saw the email that said not to exceed 40, but I somehow don't have this copy.
And that goes with the revised seating plan.
Okay, Health Department, seating cannot exceed 40 seats per floor plan submitted on 1/27/22. Okay. All right.
So I think, yeah, I just want to get back to the fire department comments
Sure,
because
go ahead.
I'm just trying to figure out where this fits in that because it's talking about section 13.7.8.6 A2 nightclub use as of January 2007, new construction, change of use, or substantial modification. The activation of any fire protection system element shall automatically cause immediate illumination of the areas, components, required means of egress, and additionally cause immediate full activation of other household lighting, cause immediate stopping of all sounds and visual distractions, public address system, entertainment, dance, lighting, music, etc., that conflicts or competes with fire protection signaling system. And then it talks about if the occupant load exceeds 100 or more, the following will apply. So when it says the occupant load, what counts in the occupant load to this? Just the seating in that area or the building? I don't know what meets that criteria. I think it's just this area, but I think in our motion, we need to make sure that the license is only granted, based on a sign off from
I was
building.
talking to the building inspector, Brett, and he wants us to put those special plugs in that if something happens, the lights go on, the music stops immediately. And we've already talked about where we're going to be putting them. The only reason why we haven't put them in yet, we're just waiting to be granted, and then we will put those in. I think that was in there that he was talking about.
Right.
So just as a side comment, Tracy, as you're doing a very good job on this, so I don't want to stop you. In any motion, I think we should put in that whatever we agree to do, that it's subject to the requirements imposed by the health department, the fire department,
The building.
and the building department and any other applicable town department. And any permit should be subject to that. And just so these people don't think we're doing anything onerous, we can't override the Board of Health. We're just here to deal with the entertainment aspect and the neighborhood concerns. Or whatever the building department, if we said erroneously, subject to a seating capacity of 35, that wouldn't be binding because we don't have the authority to do that. The Board of Health has the authority to do that, and their requirement is 40. So we're just here strictly for licensing, and you're going to have to comply with whatever requirements fire puts on you, the building department puts on you, the Board of Health puts on you, or any other.
We need to make sure they get copies of these too.
Excuse me?
We need to make sure the applicant gets copies of
Yeah.
what we've been.
Stop at the town.
So Tracy, do you have anything else at this time?
No,
No, I'm not rushing you. If you do, it's fine.
I'm okay as long
You
as,
okay?
as long as we.
Okay. Let me go to Dan and see if he has any comments or questions.
I don't have any questions. I think the concerns have been fleshed out. You seem to be responsive to the concerns that are being raised by the neighbors. As far as parking and idling and lights, they're really not within our purview tonight. We're dealing strictly with the entertainment. But it behooves you, obviously, as a good business owner and a good neighbor to work cooperatively with your next door neighbors. I like the idea of being conservative at the beginning, and then, if you feel like you want to expand, come back again and we can talk about it. But this is first go through. I appreciate the concessions that you've made. And the only other comment I would have is that I also am a little concerned about steel drums. Anything that's outside of an acoustical guitar outside should certainly not be going, past 5 p.m. or something like that. Anything that's going to carry over a fence. But I appreciate all the work you've put in, and we're trying to balance your needs against the neighbors and also trying to be pro-business in our town, which we need to be. So I'll look forward to a motion that tries to balance all of those needs.
Thank you.
Okay.
Make a motion, we close the public hearing.
All right. We have a motion to close the
Second.
public portion of the hearing in a second. If there's not any further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, the public portion of the hearing is closed. Does anybody want to make a motion? Tracy, and by the way, I agree with your approach. I think for the sake of clarity and so that the neighbors know what's going, what's going to be required and the business knows what's going to be expected, that we should take the indoor and outdoor portion separately. I agree with that. I think that's a very good suggestion. So I think the outdoor part is the more touchy one. So why don't we start with that? Does anyone want to make a motion?
Do you want me to read off some of the notes I made from your discussion?
If you could craft that discussion into a motion, so I can move it, that'd be great.
Sure.
So for the approval of the weekday and Sunday entertainment license for inside, allowing amplified music, the hours of 1 p.m. to 10 p.m., 7 days. Outside, one-piece acoustic only, no steel drum. 1 p.m. to 9 p.m., 6 days, 1 p.m. to 8 p.m. on Sunday, subject to the issuance of a certificate of inspection of the Health Department, Building Department, and Fire Department, and any other applicable authority.
I would make that motion with the one caveat that we add no amplification.
For the
For the
outdoor.
outside.
Outside, yeah.
I'll second that.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. And is that,
Thank you, Bob.
and is that motion subject to what we discussed before about compliance with the Board of Health requirements, the Fire Department requirements, the Building Department, and any other applicable town department?
Yep, that was included.
That included in the motion in the second? All right. So, is there any further discussion? Yes.
Is it possible to have the closing down of the outdoor at no later than 8:30, 6 days a week, and 8 o'clock on Sunday?
Wait a minute, because we just,
The motion is to have the outside entertainment end at 9, and I'm suggesting moving it back to 8:30, except for Sunday, which would remain at 8 o'clock.
So you wanted to move that from 9 to 8:30, Monday through Saturday, and to what, 7:30 on Sunday?
No, it's still 8 o'clock on Sunday.
It's still 8.
Yeah.
I'm not sure a half hour is going to make, I mean, well, the other thing I think we should talk about too is is this year round? I mean, obviously it's only going to be when it's warm out, but it's light until 9.
So the outside part is not going to be year round because the pool is not open now. It's only going to be open basically.
I hope not.
It's going to be open basically, May and then until probably Columbus Day.
Yeah, October, yeah.
It's very limited to what it's going to be open. And then as we all know, September gets slow. October's really slow. So chances of us having entertainment them months is probably less because, kids are back in school. We're not going to have the family. So we're probably not going to, do the expenses to have these entertainers here in the off season. So we're basically, I'm not saying we're targeting June, July, August, and part of September, but we're targeting the 100 weeks of summer. But at the same time, you got to remember, we're only going to have that outdoor pool open in the summer.
Right. My only point was in terms of the time of year is the lighting. So in the majority of the time that you're utilizing the outdoor pool, it's light till about 9 p.m. That's what was my comment to Peter. I'm comfortable with 9, but I think if we were going further with more pieces and amplification, I would want to bring it back. But I think seeing as we've brought it down to 1, I think we can.
It just a suggestion of, if the feeling of the board is 9 is fine. I can go along with 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
Take the vote.
Is there anything further by anyone on the board? Okay. Seeing no further input, we will take a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? So that passes 4-0. Do we have any cards on this?
Yes, I think it was in the paper.
Were those handed in?
What was I reading on the cards?
There was a memo from Mr.
Butter cards have been returned and we have them.
We have the abutters cards. Okay, so you
We have
did
the
all that
abutter
and sent got all the green cards back and gave them to the town.
Yes, and they're all
Okay.
here somewhere.
Well,
I gave them to
Yeah, we have.
Dakota.
Dakota's got it.
We need to handle the inside now.
Excuse me?
We need to handle the inside.
Yes.
I think that incorporated the inside, didn't it?
Did that?
Yes.
I thought we took it separate.
No, he included both of them.
Okay,
Yeah, no, I think the motion did cover both inside and outside.
okay.
Yeah.
I thought we were going to do it separate.
We were, and then he read the conditions and
As long as it's clear for everybody what the expectation is.
yeah.
Understood.
1 to 10. And
So
Oh, yes.
well,
Okay.
there's one thing that should be added, I think as well with this, I think this is the first meeting with the new management from the facility. And just on behalf of the board, we want to welcome you folks as managers. We certainly appreciate your presence there. We're hoping that, in terms of the operation of the facility, which is a very fine facility and it's brand new, and we hope that it kind of turns around in terms of its relationship with the community. And then we hope that you'll pay some close attention to those concerns of the neighbors to make it easier, to live next door, things like the fencing and the lighting. Those are all very important. And I really just want to point out too, on the licensing end of it, you need to come see us. You need to have, be designated as the manager under the licensing. Those are all steps that are critical, and, they could negatively impact your licenses if it's not done promptly. So welcome aboard.
Thank you.
And we look forward to working with you. And we also have that detailed information that the selectmen pointed out you should have in the office, and we can provide all of that. And we want to be your partners to help solve any problems.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We appreciate it. And thank you to all the neighbors
The neighbors as well.
Yes,
who
thank you.
came in and gave us their input as well. Thank you.
Good luck.
All right. Let's look at the agenda here. So, Yarmouth Winter Carnival hosted by the Chamber at Skull Island, 934 Route 28.
Yeah, I'm gonna send you the email of the last man.
Hey, Mary.
Like the third time for
Folks, there's another public hearing taking place, so we encourage you to keep talking just outside.
Good evening, Mary.
Good evening.
You don't have to go, but you can't stay here. Bye, Frank.
So,
Oh, you want me to read it?
sure, go ahead.
All right. The Town of Yarmouth Board of Selectmen, Special Entertainment License Hearing, amended address. The Town of Yarmouth has received an application from the Yarmouth Chamber of Commerce for a special entertainment license to host a Yarmouth Winter Carnival on February 18th, 19th, and 20th of 2022 at Skull Island, 934 Route 28, South Yarmouth. The Yarmouth Winter Carnival will feature a variety of recorded music and amplification from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. on February 18th, 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. on February 19th, and 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. on February 20th. A hearing will be held Tuesday, February 1st, 2022 in the hearing room, the Yarmouth Town Hall, 1146 Route 28, South Yarmouth. The Board of Selectmen meeting begins at 6 p.m. Written comments will be accepted in the Selectmen's office until 4:30 p.m. on January 28, 2022. Verbal comments will be accepted at the hearing.
Thank you, Tracy. Mary, why don't you give us just a brief overview of what's being proposed?
Sure. My name's Mary Vilbon, Executive Director for the Yarmouth Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber has been talking about this event for probably 3 years, and we finally decided to just go for it. And our original plans were to have the Winter Carnival at different locations throughout the town. But when we had a recent surge with COVID, we decided to bring it all to one location so it would be more manageable. And thankfully, the Nicanellos were very generous in offering their property to us. So the idea is that a portion of the parking lot will actually be blocked off with Jersey barriers with one entrance and one exit. And inside that area for the event, the arcade will be open. We will have magicians. There's going to be ice sculpting. The Yarmouth Recreation Division is putting out their ice skating rink, which was funded by the Economic Development Committee, which we're very excited about. People will pre-register for that so that we can manage the numbers on the skating rink. We're actually allowing less people on the event, so it allows more space. And for, safety reasons as well as for COVID. We did allow in our entertainment license an hour before the event actually starts, just so that we can test the music, test the announcements, and check the system. We have a professional event company that will be doing that. They're actually a member of the chamber. So they're very seasoned and know exactly how to manage the sound.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody in the public that would like to be heard on this matter? See anybody on the
No hands up.
screen?
No.
No? Okay, then let's get right to it and go to the board. Dan, do you have any questions or comments?
I don't have any questions. I'm excited. This is a great activity and another one of those yearly celebrations that hopefully will just add to our collection of events that people can really come to Yarmouth and enjoy and fill our hotels and restaurants. So I'm very, very excited about it. I'm all signed up to volunteer.
No, thank you very much. And we do need more volunteers, so please call the office, email, and let us know if you're available. It
the
takes
people
a
at
lo-
home, the dates are February 18th, 19th, and 20th. The one question I had is you asked to waive the fee.
Correct.
I'm not sure exactly. How much is that? And
I believe it's $65.
55.
who actually is running this? Is it the chamber that's running it?
Correct.
So the proceeds go to the chamber if there's a,
The only proceeds that we're asking is a $2 entry fee. Other than that, there's only a cost. So we have a s'mores pit, which would just be covering the cost of this, but this is actually through the Tourism Revenue Preservation Fund. It is a costly event. This is one of the learning curves. And part of the reason for just even charging the entry fee is to have a decent count of how many people are coming in and out of the event. This is meant to be a community event, not a moneymaker event.
okay. All right. That's good to know that.
Yeah.
I don't have any other questions. Excited about it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go to Tracy.
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Okay, Peter.
I can't wait to see the skating rink go.
Wait till you see the professional skaters coming.
No questions.
Wonderful.
I was on CEDC, and this event had been discussed for years, and I'm glad to see it's finally birthing itself.
Okay, and I share this comments that have already been made.
Make a motion, to close the public hearing.
Okay,
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed?
I make a motion to approve the application as presented.
Do we have a second? Dan?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So that passes unanimously. And what about the fee waiver? Do we have a motion to waive the fee?
Well, it's on the consent agenda, right?
Is it?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so we don't need to do that.
Thank you.
That'll
very
get
much.
waived. All right, thank you.
Come to the event.
Thanks, Mary.
So now,
How do people sign up? Just, is it through the chamber website? I mean, you said they have to register in advance for the,
Yeah, you can go to the website or you can call our office or email, and we have an online sign-in registration sheet to do that.
so the next item is a wastewater update with Jeff Colby, DPW Director. We'll be addressing a comprehensive wastewater plan and notice of project change and a possible vote, and a project manager, OPM discussion, and a possible vote. Good evening, Mr. Colby.
Yes, good evening. Jeff Colby, Public Works Director. Thank you for having me tonight. We've got a couple of important wastewater topics that we'd like to talk with the board about. Just a quick overview of where we are in the schedule. November town meeting approved OPM, which is Owner's Project Manager, as well as wastewater treatment facility design funds. The OPM is brought on first before the designer. That's how the process works. And we're still planning for a August state revolving fund filing for wastewater. So that's kind of our overall schedule, overarching schedule, and the importance of getting both the notice of project change submitted, as well as the owner's project manager on board to help us with all of that work that's in the queue. The first item on your agenda is the notice of project change. Just a little bit of history. The town does have an approved comprehensive wastewater management plan that was filed back in the 2010 timeframe. So that's approved. What that didn't include is the Bass River watershed. And so this notice of project change is important, but because it includes that component of the wastewater plan. Also, that executive summary that you have in your packet does talk a little bit about what we've done in the meantime and some of the other permit requirements. This is a permit requirement that we file this as soon as possible. It's a major milestone for the community in our wastewater planning efforts, and so it should certainly be something that we talk about. And to that extent, we did talk with the Water Resource Advisory Committee. They fully support filing this as soon as possible. Typically, these things are filed either the 1st or the 15th of the month. And so if the board is supportive of filing this, we'll be looking to file this for the 15th of February. Typically, those are the two timeframes within any given month that DEP accepts these types of filings. So with that said, I'm happy to answer any questions the board might have. There's an executive summary in your packet. The actual notice of project change is about a 275-page document. I and Lori Rizal, our water wastewater superintendent, are making our way through that document. We will fully digest that information, but we want to make sure that at least everyone in the public, as well as the board and the Water Resource Advisory Committee, certainly had a very good, solid executive summary, and that's what you have before you tonight. So happy to answer any questions. If you have specific detailed engineering questions, I believe we also have members from CDM Smith that are able to answer those if you have some highly technical ones that need to be explained. But happy to answer any questions on that component of what you have before you tonight.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we approve the wastewater plan and notice of project change as presented.
Second.
Second.
Okay, we got 2 seconds and a first. So I don't think we need to have any further discussion on that. Let's take a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? So that passes unanimously.
Okay, thank you. The second item before you tonight is the owner's project manager. As I mentioned in the beginning of my comments, this is a entity that's brought on before the designer as part of the state requirements for a facility as significant as the wastewater treatment facility. In fact, anything that's over $1.5 million for vertical construction requires an owner's project manager by the laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And so that's what we are looking to bring on board to help us not only with that facility, but also to help us coordinate some of the collection system work as well. So this is a entity that needs to have experience in both vertical as well as horizontal construction types of projects and wastewater projects specifically. So with that said, we did put out an RFQ for and broadcast that widely for responses. We got 9 responses, which we're very happy to have received. That certainly gives us a lot of opportunity to be selective in our process. It's always good to have multiple responses. We set up a screening team that included myself and Lori Rizala, our water wastewater superintendent, as well as the town administrator, assistant town administrator, and 2 members of the Water Resource Advisory Committee. So 6 of us in total. We reviewed those 9 responses and selected 4 that we thought could make that final cut that we could interview. We did all of the interviews in a Zoom format, online format. There is one firm that came into town hall to do some interviews, but that was more of a hybrid approach. But we were able to get presentations from all 4 of those firms, and they're in your packets tonight. They were firms that were all highly qualified. All the firms had strengths and weaknesses as it relates to wastewater. Some might have been a little stronger in the collection system experience, and some a little stronger in the treatment facility design and oversight of that type of construction. But the screening team felt comfortable with Wright Pierce as the highest ranked of the 4 that we interviewed. And that is our recommendation to the board for us to award a contract to Wright Pierce for OPM services, at least taking us through design and bidding. That'll give us an opportunity to reevaluate who we might or how we might want to break the contracts up as it relates to construction. When we get to the construction, there's going to be significant components, not only with the collection system and various contracts that might happen, both with Mass DOT projects as well as independent collection system contracts that we need to issue. And we'll also have oversight with regards to the treatment plant as well. And so those are very different types of construction. And so we are looking to make an award for the OPM through design and bidding. And once we get to construction, we'll reassess as to whether we want to make a change, continue with this firm, or maybe shift things and look at an entity responsible for treatment plant oversight, or an entity responsible for collection system, or it could be the same. But at this point, we feel very comfortable that Wright Pierce will help us get through the design and bidding process. They have a lot of experience in that regard. They made some very good suggestions in their presentation with things that we might want to look at with regards to our effluent recharge for the facility and different creative approaches we might want to think about in how we can deal with that and assisting through the permitting phase. They've done quite a bit of that, and so I think they would be a good addition to our team for the OPM services. So happy to answer any questions that you might have specifically about Wright Pierce or any of the other firms that we looked at.
Okay, before we go further, I did get an email from Chairman Forrest saying he couldn't be here, but he wanted to be on record just in full support of Wright Pierce as the OPM. And he read the recommendations and watched all the interviews on video and believes they're a solid choice and will do a very good job for the town. He also wanted it to be known that he was in full support of the notice of project change. So, Bob, did you want to add anything to Jeff's presentation? I think he covered pretty much everything, but I don't know if you have anything
First
you
of all,
wanted to add.
he was very succinct, and every note that I had, Jeff hit. But I just want to say that we feel strongly that bringing this firm on, and he mentioned the permitting strength that they have as well, which is a big area that we want to make sure that with our designers we really hammer that groundwater discharge and all of the obstacles and issues that we have to move this project forward. And we feel with this firm directly representing the owners, the town, that we're going to be in a position to drive this project forward and not have, inertia take the better part of it or, meander around. We're trying to get a straight line with efficiency through the permitting, through the design, into the point where we're ready to seek funding. And so I wholeheartedly support this firm, and I think they're going to be a strong advocate for the town to help that happen with not only the design team, the local team, but also the regulatory team that we've got a lot of folks to answer to.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we approve the memorandum that's been presented to us tonight and appoint Wright Pierce as the owner project manager.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. So does anyone have any questions or would like to engage in any discussion of this before we vote on it?
Jeff, I do have one quick question. Right now, we have CDM Smith. How does CDM Smith interface with this new consultant that we're bringing on board? They're not doing the same thing. They're complementary to one another. Is that what I'm to take from this?
Currently, CDM Smith is doing the wastewater planning for us. They're the ones that prepared the notice of project change document that you just supported. And so they've been doing kind of the early stage planning for us. Now we're really getting down to the nuts and bolts with regards to design, detailed design. And that's the process we've gone through for this RFQ for the owner's project manager. Probably the last thing that I should say is we do have the RFQ responses for the design services for the treatment plant that are due on February 8th. And so we wanted to make sure we got the OPM on board, can help us review those design phase services. And that is open up to the process with regards to who's going to design the wastewater treatment facility. And hopefully we get a number of good responses on the 8th of February. So we have something to choose from.
We don't have any of the particulars of the contract that we're entering into. Are those known quantities at this point, or?
We have a scope of services that we have begun to talk with Wright Pierce about. We didn't want to get too far down the process of a detailed cost proposal and contract until we were sure that the board was on board with Wright Pierce. But we do have a scope of services that we feel pretty comfortable with. And we do have funds that were approved at the November town meeting to the tune of several $100,000 that we feel will be more than adequate to cover their services.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Tracy.
They were all, I read other presentations, they all are experienced. I mean, I trust the judgment and the recommendation of the committee.
Peter?
Yeah, I agree with Tracy. I read everybody's stuff and listened to a lot of them. And, lots of good folks. And I go with your recommendation for Wright Pierce. Now, my question is actually follows on Dan. There's no contract yet. Will we see a contract finally that we would vote on to approve, or is that just in your purview once we get this done? So that's question number one. Question number two, I have every confidence that these people will do well. Is there going to be room in the contract if they do not perform? We would be able to get out of the contract.
But we're looking, the scope of services that I referred to earlier to cover the next 12 to 18 months. So we expect that won't be all the way through the bidding and up to the award of the contract for construction, but it'll get us through the next period of time. And if for some reason something doesn't go well, we don't need to issue another contract. And there's always clauses in all of our contracts that allow us to get out for cause, if you will.
Okay.
So we'll be covered in that regard. As far as signing a contract, which was your first question, Bob is authorized to do that. So I would expect that if the board, as you have, supports Wright Pierce, we'll work out the contract details. I'm sure we can share that with you, but Bob is able to execute that.
Right. Yeah, I personally, I'd like to see it. It's a large amount of money. And even though our town manager is well qualified, I think the board should see the thing. And I didn't want to make that sound like I was throwing Wright Pierce under the bus. They've got very good information about them, but sometimes things happen.
No, it's always a good business practice to do it that way, really, if you have an option to do a contract in phases and you're satisfied, there'd be every initiative for you to continue with those people. But if for some reason you're not, you'd have an option to do something different. So, and it makes a lot of sense.
I have no other questions. I'm looking forward to us getting moving.
Do we have a motion?
Yep, moved and seconded.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Jeff.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Colby,
Okay.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's right. We did have the motion moved and seconded before we discussed it. Next item is committee updates, Recycling and Solid Waste Advisory Committee.
Now, we have the Recycling and Solid Waste Committee visiting remotely this evening. So if we could bring Jill Talladay up and she could introduce her team. And I know there's a presentation. I'll try to get that up.
Hi, Jill.
Hello.
Hi, Jill. Who else would you like to elevate to your panel?
Yeah, Carol Ewing, my co-chair, is here as well.
Okay, if we could elevate Carol. Welcome.
Hello. Carol may not be on video. She's just gonna, oh, there she is.
I'm
working on it. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Great to see you all. My name is Roby Whitehouse. I am the Assistant DPW Director. I am the representative for the Recycling Committee. I am happy to forward the presentation whenever you're ready to begin.
Oh, great. Thanks. Thanks, Roby. So I'll begin then. Carol and I are going to kind of share as we do everything. So thank you for the opportunity to be here. We had tried to do this in December and due to a late evening, it didn't work out. So we're glad to be here just to bring you up to date a little bit on what we've been doing for the last year and what we have planned for the coming year. We're always advocating for ways to reduce waste and with an eye on the municipal bottle ban that was passed at town meeting and was taking effect in this past fall, we were advocated for water bottle filling stations within the town, knowing that that would help reduce single-use plastic bottles. And we were pleased to see that there was funding passed for some of those. We informed the town departments and worked actually with Roby Whitehouse to make sure that the vendor contracts were updated so that the vendors were aware of the changes that they needed to implement. And we did, Carol and I actually attended some of the events since the ban took effect, and noticed that there were some vendors that were still selling the banned bottles. So we hope that that will change so that, again, it will help reduce the waste that they produce. And then the next slide, please, Roby. So we continue to advocate for additional ways to reduce waste. And we invited the owner of Black Earth Compost to come and speak to us at one of the meetings. And food waste contributes significant weight to the waste stream, as well as the impact of methane, which is bad for the environment. So we're really pleased to see that the town was willing to implement a pilot program of food waste collection at the transfer station, and it seems to be working very well. Whenever we go, there's a lot of food waste in there, and it seems to be very well utilized. So we're really pleased with that. A number of years ago, RASWAC looked into pay as you throw, where you would purchase a bag and you dispose your waste in specific bags that you purchased. It didn't pass back then, but we thought it was worth investigating again. And we invited two of the town representatives from Sandwich and Brewster, who have been doing that, the pay as you throw, successfully for a number of years, to at least share the pros and cons and what's worked for them. So we think it's something that's certainly worth keeping an eye on and considering perhaps in the future. And we continue to support a ban for polystyrene food waste styrofoam containers. And we'll talk about that a little bit more later on. And we invited Calliope Shute from the town of Barnstable to come in, who represents and oversees the hazardous waste collection, to learn more about the program that they're doing, and to see if there are ways that we could implement or do things better within our town regarding hazardous waste. Next slide, please. Carol.
We have quite a few goals for the coming year, as you can see. I'll go through them quickly. The first one is to advocate for something called Extended Producer Responsibility, EPR. This is a concept that is gaining traction throughout the waste world. It means that producers of products will be held responsible for the whole lifetime of those products, including the disposal of them or recycling of them or repairing of them. The legislation's already passed in Maine, and it hopefully it's before the legislature here in Massachusetts. And we're hoping that the board will come to understand the importance of this. We'll be back to discuss it later. And we hope to advocate with you and with the public so they understand what this is about, so the legislation can get passed. It basically provides incentives, financial incentives for producers to make products that can be recycled more easily, as well as the packaging of those products and the repairing of them, so they just don't get tossed away when they no longer function. The second goal we have is to encourage the addition of recycling bins on our public properties, particularly the beaches. We have some wonderful signage about recycling, but there's no place to put it. We think this is really important. We're a tourist destination and people come from all over the country and the world, and they're used to seeing recycling bins next to waste containers. So that's something we'd like to see the town invest in. Of course, we're going to continue in our mission to communicate as best as we can with the public about the importance of recycling and the best way to do it. We've been doing that in the past. We've had public meetings. That's not happening now with COVID, but we are using social media and town newsletters to get the word out about what people should be doing and what the latest news is in the recycling world. As Jill mentioned, we want to work a little more on hazardous waste. We were educated by Calliope Shute, who came to one of our meetings. I had no idea that the Cape actually has one of the highest, or I should say lowest rates of recycling or disposing safely of hazardous waste. So we'd like to see that change. It's really important, not just for the waste stream, but for our water quality. So we are going to hopefully work with Calliope and the DPW to investigate the best way to promote it as in terms of advertising and timing as well, what would work best for the most people in the town. Our number 5 is important to us. We'd like to have advocate for a small budget for our committee. Other towns do this on the Cape. We feel we could accomplish a lot more if we had some funds to work with. We'd like to be the Recycling and Solid Waste Action Committee, not Advisory Committee. Just planting a seed there. And as Jill said, our main goal for this year coming up and for the past 4 years is the bylaw that we proposed to reduce polystyrene in food containers. And we're hoping that you, the select board, will support this. It's going to be coming up at town meeting in the spring, and we're asking for support from you. But I know that some of you were not here 4 years ago, 2 board members and the town manager. So I'm going to go through our timeline of what we've done in the past to have this bylaw come to be. Roby, can you flip the slide for me? So we first approached the Board of Health because this is basically as much a health issue as it is a recycling issue. So we got in touch with Bruce Murphy as well as the chair of the board and told them what we were thinking about, and they were very supportive and had some questions though. They wanted more information about the issues with polystyrene, which we know commonly as styrofoam. And they wanted that information before we set up a meeting with the Board of Health. So we spent that time from July to December 2018 doing that research, as well as looking at the bylaws that had been passed in 6 other Cape towns at that point. In February of 2019, we presented that to the Board of Health. They were very supportive and thought it was a good idea, unanimous support for such a bylaw to be added to our bylaws. So in December of 2019, we came before the Board of Selectmen and reviewed the bylaw that we had come up with. And there were some comments, some feedback that we took under consideration in terms of language in the bylaw itself. And we were asked if we could also get more feedback from the schools and from the public as well. So we set about doing that after that meeting from January to March of 2020. And we conducted more research. We did contact the schools and had a conversation with them. We got some feedback from a member of the disability community. And we also conducted an informal in person survey of some of the restaurants here in Yarmouth and found that about 60% of those contacted still were using styrofoam rather than another alternative. So that was interesting to see. Then in March of 2020, along came COVID, and we had to change our thinking. We understood at that time that passing this bylaw at that point in time would be very difficult for restaurants. They're already under tremendous stress. Many were just closed. So we decided we had to take a different tact at that point, but we weren't going to give up. So Jill, you're going to take it from there.
Sure, thanks, Carol. So as Carol said, we persevered and we looked into other ways that we could continue to conduct research and outreach. And so we worked through the Chamber of Commerce, who sent out a survey so that we could poll the local restaurants and food service businesses to get a sense of what they were using and how they would feel about making some changes. And then the Chamber sent out 2 follow-up surveys to see if we could get some additional information. And then at the conclusion of that in December of 2020, we sent out a memorandum to the Board of Selectmen with the anticipation of a new representative, and also to make sure that the incoming town administrator was also up to date on what it was that we were working on. Next slide, please. Thank you. And we were fortunate to have Selectman Dan Horgan, who was our liaison, who spent a lot of time working with us and wanted to know what it was that we were doing and how he could be helpful, and was very encouraging actually to wanted to see us to really get more involved and to be more proactive. And as the result of that encouragement, we filed the petition for the polystyrene ban, proposed ban in September of 2021. Unfortunately, due to a technicality that we weren't able to place it on the warrant, but we again persevered. And so we have now gotten the successful signatures, and it will be appearing on the warrant in May at town meeting. So next slide, please. We, as Carol said in the very beginning, we are really hopeful that we can have your support. We think that it's something that, we've done a lot of research. We've followed what the requests are from the board and from the Board of Health. And we feel that it's something that would be really beneficial to the community. And we hope that we'll be successful. And again, that we would welcome your support. And so if you just go to the next slide, we thank you for your time, and we would be welcome any questions that you might have for us.
Thank you very much for the presentation. I'm going to go to the board and see if they have any questions or comments. Let's start with Tracy.
Hi, well, thank you very much. I've watched you work through this process, and I'm very excited about it. I think that, reaching out to the business community and the school is extremely important too. But also, I think it's important to note that you've made it effective for a year. It will be more than a year from town meeting. Applicability would begin on June 1st, so it gives plenty of planning for everybody. And I think you know how I feel. I said it from the beginning. I think that probably this is one of the most offensive materials with no recycling ability. So I'm thrilled, and I'm 100% supportive of this. So thank you for all your work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Peter.
You've researched the other towns. Do they have similar bylaws?
Yes, they do.
And I assumed it was going to be yes. And how are they working out? Are they had any problems, any violations, or pretty smooth? or hard to say at this point?
We have not reached back to them for probably 6 months at least. At that point in time, I did talk to particularly Dennis because they also have a similar bylaw. And as far as I know, they've had no problems with violations.
And I know it's worked very well in Wellfleet and Provincetown as well. No problems.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm in favor of this, and it'd be good to get polystyrene out of this. And this is one small step, because as you know, there's styrofoam in everything. No further questions for me.
Thank you. Dan.
Hi, Carol and Joe. Thanks for being with us tonight. I do have a couple questions. I know we're doing the pilot program for the composting. Who has access to that? Are our restaurants utilizing that? Is the town utilizing it? Who's using that?
Consumers.
Consumers. So is that widely known in the town that that is available for private households?
Well, I mean, I know that we've promoted it. I believe the chamber's promoted it, and it's on the website. And I guess even just by seeing, if you go and look at it and see how full it is, it's obviously people do know about it, but there's probably room for more. I'm sure not everyone knows.
When you drive in, where exactly is this located?
It's you go all the way around past the recycling, and it's on the right-hand side before the batteries.
Okay.
Or the
Where the clothing bins are?
Yes.
It's right by there.
right at the end of the clothing bins, right?
I love the idea of the recycling bins at the beaches and hopefully even our parks. We see them at all other places when we go traveling and vacationing, and we don't have them here in our own town, and we should.
Right.
So that begs the question, of course, of funding. And I like the idea of trying to get you guys some money. A question for you, Bob. Do we have a vehicle by which, if say that we're even looking for donations, do we have a vehicle by which funding could be segregated for their use? How does that work?
Yes, any donations received can be made by that specific purpose for the committee specifically, and they would appear on your consent agenda, be voted to be approved by the Board of Selectmen, and then placed in their account for their use.
Okay. Now, I appreciate you're probably looking for funding from the town as well, but it would be great, obviously, to try to, because what you guys are doing is such a feel-good activity for a lot of people in our town, and I imagine that they would be supportive of it and be willing to donate financially to it. So I'm hopeful that somehow we can get that word out that donations are being sought and are welcomed and appreciated, and then maybe we can talk about trying to find some funding within the town. I also am very supportive of the polystyrene. The ban that you're talking about, you've done all the homework, you've done the legwork of going out and talking to people, finding out how it's going to impact them, and trying to be as reasonable in your approach as possible. And it seems to me you've done a really good job of that. And as Tracy mentioned, I mean, giving people a year to really kind of come up with alternatives. And plus, we're not remaking the wheel here. Other towns have done it. So the plan is already in place for how to replace the polystyrene in many of the uses that are currently being fabricated here in town. So just want to say thank you. I love your committee. I love the work that you're doing. You really just make us feel better about our own community. And you remind us of our responsibility to take care of our community and pick it up. So thank you for the work you're doing. And I look forward to working with you in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If Mark were here, he would say, I adopt the comments of my colleagues on the board, but I do. And so I don't want to be overly repetitive. A question I have is, do you remember when we were talking about this polystyrene issue with the businesses that served coffee and so forth? And we found that they weren't really opposed to making a transition. In fact, they just did it voluntarily. Similarly, have you talked to businesses about getting on board with packaging and things like that? And what are these other towns doing as an alternative once the polystyrene is no longer available for packaging and installation?
Well, first of all, this bylaw that we proposed only covers food containers. So packaging materials will still be there. We're really concerned as much about the health issue as the recycling issues with polystyrene. So I don't think that's even a concern at this point for us. And Jill can speak to alternatives. She and her organization have put together a wonderful resource that is available online for what alternatives exist for polystyrene containers for food. And they're pretty comparative in price, maybe a little more, but not extremely more expensive. So I think that's one thing. And I know that Mary, through the chamber, has gotten that information out as well. So I believe the business community, or at least part of it, has heard about alternatives to polystyrene.
Yeah,
And to answer your question about packaging, I don't know of any
fortunate
town that's doing anything that's banning the packaging. Yeah, I don't know anyone that's banning the packaging. And quite interestingly, when we were at the transfer station getting signatures the first time, there were some people that were concerned about us banning the packaging because they felt it was so beneficial. So.
But that's got to be on the radar, right? I mean, that's equally as harmful as any of these other things.
Yeah, and it's not recyclable. That's, it's just adding to the waste stream.
With respect to the takeout foods and things like that, what kind of response do you get from the business community when they're faced with that alternative of saying you can't do that anymore, you have to use something else?
Well, I think one of the things that Carol found when she was doing her in-person surveys, that many of the restaurants were seeing it was coming down the pike anyway. They knew it was going to happen, so they've already prepared.
Similar to what we saw probably with takeout beverages, right? Where the businesses saw that it's inevitable and they started transitioning on their own, really.
Right.
So you expect that with this as well?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
When you're finished, can I ask another question?
Yeah, Tracy has something else. Go ahead, Tracy.
Well, I just wanted to see if we could get a copy of your goals, because I thought your goals were really important. And to Dan's point about the funding specifically, I think it'd be interesting to know what your plan is for the utilization of the funds. Is it for education, flyers? I don't know exactly what it is that you want to utilize the funds for. So if we could get maybe just a synopsis of what it is that your plan is. And then my other question was, you said that the Cape has the lowest rate of recycling of hazard waste. Why do you think that is? I know we do a regional collection. Is just,
I asked Calliope the same question because I was pretty shocked to hear that, considering our sole aquifer that we all drink from. And she really didn't have any information as to why. I don't know, maybe it's our transient population that, a lot more people are here in the summer and don't have access to the hazardous waste disposal at that time, though we usually plan one late in the summer. It's a mystery to us, and I'd like to learn more about that because we really need to increase the recycling of this very dangerous stuff.
I'd be interested in what other communities are doing differently. I think maybe geographically, because I know sometimes the collection's not within Yarmouth, sometimes it's in Barnstable.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they're doing.
Sorry, could I speak? We have reciprocal events all over Cape Cod. So that means that when Calliope schedules an event at another town, that means that town of Yarmouth residents can go to that town.
I
They
understand,
would
but
have to pay a small fee in order to go there, but they can absolutely go to those other events. And the same thing is true with the events that happen in Yarmouth. Other communities can go to the event that takes the events. We have 2 events that take place in the town of Yarmouth. They can go there as well. if
and
they-
are, you know, I know the people in the Cape are different, right? So, you know, they like to, some of them stay close. I laugh at my sisters when they plan on going over the bridge. It's a big day. So I'm just saying, if we make it as easy as possible for people, and I'm surprised to hear you say that there's a fee. What is that fee for? Is that a barrier? I mean, because
It's usually very insignificant. It's just the fee associated with the disposal of the materials.
I understand, but maybe that's something we as a community want to look at, because if they don't have the funding to do that, are we really doing ourselves, when we're paying to clean up our water and our groundwater because people are dumping hazardous material? That's not a smart move. So I'm wondering, do the off-Cape communities charge?
I don't know about off Cape. I can certainly check
do?
with Calliope and Barnstable County.
Yeah, no, I'm just wondering what the difference is for us, why that is, and how we can achieve a higher recycling of hazardous materials. I mean, and maybe it is the fee. And I'd be interested to see what that would mean to us if we waive those fees, because I think we should really take a serious look at, are we saving money? Are we saving any money by potentially putting that barrier up? I don't know. That's all. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I've got one other comment, if I could, please.
Sure.
We have Mr. Colby here tonight, and you mentioned the recycling bins. Have you reached out to the DPW to see if you could get bins at the beaches and stuff? Because obviously it would have to be coordinated with DPW, because they're going to have to be the ones doing the pickup and stuff of those bins.
We have not done that yet. That's certainly one of our goals, and we'll be talking to Roby about it.
Because I think it's a great idea, and again, I see it in many communities, and you're right, they're not here. I didn't really think about it until you mentioned it. I no other questions. Thank you.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify something. When I was talking to you earlier about packaging, I was talking to you primarily about prepackaged foods. In your definition of
Okay.
foods
Okay.
establishment, talks about food trucks, farmers markets, concession stands, and then it says other public venues that store, prepare, package, serve, vend, or otherwise provide food for human consumption, which is good. I mean, it's a very inclusive definition, because and it has to be, that stuff can pop up almost anywhere that requires cooling or any kind of insulation or preservation of heat or whatever the need of the vendor might be. And then it refers to the CMRs and so forth. So this is pretty comprehensive, and it's something that if passed, I think is going to have a large or a significant environmental impact right away.
I did neglect to mention that we did have it run by town council too, so they have reviewed it.
Yeah. Anything else, Dan? Peter?
No, nothing.
Tracy? Roby, would you like to say anything?
No, I'd just like to thank the Recycle Committee for being here tonight and thank the board for listening. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you, ladies. It's much appreciated.
Thank you.
So where is my agenda? Here it is. We're moving now to board and committee actions. Do we have any committee appointments?
Yes, we do. The first one is for Lorraine Doyle, Barnstable County Home Consortium Advisory Council, a one-year term through 01/2023. This person came to us with a recommendation from the chair of the committee, and also from Mary Wagon and other folks recommended this Miss Doyle.
Do you know if there's a reason why we don't have a talent bank form?
I think we did, didn't we?
There was, I saw a talent bank form. I don't, it's not here. I don't know where it is.
Oh.
Town manager, town administrator, would it be perhaps worthwhile to table this until we can get the talent bank form? I think that would probably be appropriate.
I just like to look to make sure
No,
they're
no,
full-time resident,
I'm
that's
not
all.
questioning that at all. I think it's an excellent idea.
Sure, we can do that. We can just put this off until the next meeting.
Yeah, so.
Why don't we do that?
Yeah, so we could table this one until we can get a copy of the talent bank form for everyone. The next one is to add Maria Marasco to the to CEDC. We had many applicants to become part of the committee, and if any of them are listening, we had some great folks. They were interviewed by myself, 2 members of CEDC, and Kyle, who is the town person who helps out with the committee. So this is a recommendation for Ms. Marasco for a 3-year term through 07/2024.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and there's a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. That's it for the appointments for right now.
Thank you. Upcoming agenda review. I'm going to ask our town administrator to go through this with us.
Certainly, Mr. Chairman, there are a couple of critical items on your schedule for next week's meeting. We're going to have a presentation on the vision plan by the planning board. Also, we have the review of the first draft of the town meeting warrant to go through. And there is also the required vote of seasonal population, and that's for licensing purposes. That has to go into the ABCC. So we've got that recommendation. And the item on for the discussion and possible vote regarding town council services. And there is, on the March 1 meeting, we've delayed a couple of times the Substance Abuse Commission, but we're very anxious to have them in front of the board. And there is a show cause hearing for some alleged violations of the Moose Lodge license, and also our retiree recognition as well.
Yeah, on the Moose Lodge, I just recently got a letter that I'm reviewing to see whether or not there's sufficient cause to bring them in. So I haven't really done that yet, but if I don't think there is, I'll let you know as soon as I can. As I recall, in the report from Sergeant Hennessy, he does indicate that he seems to be saying that he made some inroads with them and resolved some issues, but I want to go through it in depth before I report back on that. But that's a maybe is what I guess I'm saying.
That's just some of the highlights for the next few weeks.
When are we going to reschedule our goals again?
Next time it snows.
And I have requested some new dates from our facilitator, and I did receive those, so I'll email those around tomorrow and follow up. Hopefully, we can pick a date very soon that is a fair weather day. This one was incredible. The first one I'm saying, well, come on, it's not that cold, but
I know,
this was outrageous,
talk about going from bad to worse.
brutal.
Are you going to mention any of that during your town manager update?
Yes,
Okay, good.
I'll give you a little storm recap.
Okay, is there anything else on agenda review? Anything anybody wants to see coming up in the near to intermediate future?
Mr. Chairman, I know our fire chief is leaving, and we've got some stuff set up to do that. I know that the police chief is also leaving. I don't want this to get too close to his end date with us out starting to move one way or the other. So I don't know whether, probably after town meeting would probably make the most sense to start to look at that, because that's a big project. And the chief has been a phenomenal chief of police, and he's going to be a hard person to replace.
What did he say his retirement date was gonna be in November, was it?
Yes, November 1.
November 1st.
Nothing else that I can think of right off the top of my head. And we've got town meeting at the warrant and those discussions. But they're already on here.
Tracy, anything?
Nope.
No. Dan?
No, I'm all set.
Okay. So let's move it then to individual items. Yeah, let's start with you,
No items, Mr. Chairman.
Tracy.
I just want to thank all of our, I know Dan just mentioned it and Bob's going to talk about it, but the undertaking, and I know our emergency operations center was underway, and it takes an effort from a lot of people to get through something like that. And you think about somebody who might have needed medical assistance in the middle of it, and it's just and then you go on Facebook and you see people bashing the town for the level of the roads, and it gets disappointing because I know there's just so many people that work so hard, and it's not perfect. People work hard, they work long, they do the best they can with what we have. I'm sure some of our equipment, we've made decisions here at this table several times. We used to outsource a lot. We tried to bring it back in to save some money. We don't have a lot of really large pieces of equipment. So we do the best we can with what we have. And I'm sure that they utilized outside services as to the extent that they could to get it cleaned up. But it's thankless is what I'm saying. And I just think that for the few that cry, or not cry, I shouldn't say that, are upset, there's a lot of people that are extremely grateful. So I just want to thank them on the behalf of the residents, because I'm extremely grateful for what they do.
All right, anybody else? I will allow some time if you want to make additional comments on the storm and those topics after we hear from our town administrator, who's going to give us a little report. So let's move on to the town administrator items. And then, like I said, I can come back if anybody wants to talk about the storm and compliment various personnel. We'll be able to do that.
Okay, certainly. I'd like to start off with the consent agenda. We have the renewal of the tree warden services intermunicipal agreement with the town of Barnstable and the town of Yarmouth, and that's been a very positive agreement for the town. And we also have the proposed waiver of the entertainment license application fee for the Yarmouth Winter Carnival. And I want to call your attention to a really huge item that the Yarmouth Town Libraries has received a donation from the estate of Janet DeFulvio in the amount of $52,570.33. And we just don't see that type of public spirited contribution to support town services very often. So
You don't.
I want to mention that.
That is an amazing gift.
Can we make sure a letter goes out from the town?
Absolutely.
State of
Can I
Janice,
ask
how
a-
do you say that? DeFulvio?
Fulvio.
DEFULVIO, $52,570.33.
6%.
Wow.
It's amazing.
You don't see that very often. I have never seen it.
I'd move the consent agenda.
Can I just ask a question about this tree warden? I don't remember when we entered into this the first time. I'm just curious how it worked in terms of, was there analysis done about whether or not it was cost effective and compared to, how we managed it previous?
Yes, it's too bad. Jeff, I think, just stepped out and he and I were talking about it. And, he indicated his very strong support that it was a great benefit for the town, that he saved a lot of money and was able to get some, high quality assistance. And it's not used all the time. It's only when, he needs some expert advice on, how to handle certain trees that he does that, and it's able to save him money. So.
Okay. I'll second that, Dan.
All right. All those in favor of the consent agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That passes unanimously.
Okay, thank you very much. I know folks wanted to get a report on how we're faring with the storm. And first of all, I mean, the only thing that comes to mind is just, wow. It's not very often that we get an actual hurricane accompanied by 2 feet of snow, which a bunch of it, it started off that wet, very slick material, and it caused tremendous problems for the town. I mean, there's no question across the Cape. We were hit very hard with this storm. And honestly, I just want to start with some special thanks to the Department of Public Works, Jeff Colby, Roby Whitehouse, and the entire DPW for their efforts in this recent storm. And I want to say it was the town crews obviously were the complete backbone of our services. We brought in as many of the private crews. We just this past year went through a process to increase the fees we pay to the private so to make sure that they'd be available. And we started the storm with the full contingent to meet all of his established routes. So it wasn't a situation like, we hear about where there's no one to take care of the routes and it's not covered. No, these routes were completely covered. And with the town crews, when I say the backbone, we're talking 30 to 40 hours straight with some of these individuals out plowing. And, obviously we had situations with, breakdowns, equipment that had to be fixed, and a lot of things you don't see as well. When the storm first started, we had a lot of problems getting people off the road. With too many people driving around, and it started off really icy. And a lot of times our crews spent time, trying to plow an area with vehicles stuck. And, you have to stop what you're doing, help get this vehicle dislodged and out of your way, and then go back to the plowing. And that was, that was problematic. But I think the major issue with so much snow, it's not a single plow event. They were just plowing over and over. If you waited till it's over, then you have to get real big equipment out in some of the small streets. And the key thing is, I thank you very much, Tracy, for mentioning that. It is not a perfect scenario where, you get the 2 feet dumped on you, and then the next morning it's completely cleaned out. The town crews are continuing. The cleanup effort is ongoing this week. And if you've seen today, coming back, it's like the third day from when the storm hit is when, they're hitting a lot of their cleanup effort. Like one of the things they had out on, Route 28 is the 11-foot plow on the front end loader. And they were able to clean those big, huge windrows and the sidewalks at the same time, trying to be as efficient as they can. Some of the town buildings, we just today got cleaned out, especially some of the libraries. We have these odd stairways that go down to a little well, and the wells in the window. So we're digging out sidewalks, finishing on some of the back roads. We want to encourage anyone who is still stranded or has a problem to get in touch with police dispatch. That's the most efficient way, and they'll dispatch crews out immediately. And we're trying to get into every area. And again, the DPW was pushed to the absolute limit, and every single one of those people just stepped up and kept working, and they're still working now. Folks have had a little bit of rest, and that now they can get back and hit it. But it's a cleanup effort that is going to go probably through this week till everything is cleaned up, and hopefully before it starts raining a lot, we'll get some of the snow just cleared up. I also want to call out the public safety departments for they're helping coordinating the emergency efforts that we go through with the DPW is the engine when it snows, and they're out straight out. The thing I would point out too, I forget to mention that we only had maybe 20 or so trees down, not the volume of material certainly that we saw in the October storm, which had similar winds, and that was surprising to us. We felt with those 70, 80 mile an hour winds and the snow, it might cause more tree damage, but that wasn't a major factor that we've seen so far. But it was a massive emergency effort while the DPW is cleaning up the snow and the trees and things. The public safety departments, and most notably Frank Frederickson, Kevin Lennon, and the police, and Phil Simoni and John Sawyer in the fire, we had the emergency operations center going through the entire duration of the storm. The amount of people needing shelter was very small, and we had a situation we had to manage that were part of the regional shelter system. And with the COVID scares, they didn't want to open up too many shelters, so we shared a shelter this storm with Barnstable. It worked very well. They only had less than 20 people, I think, at the top, and just a handful of people from our community that were provided for there. And all of the communications that enabled us, I know pre-storm, I was able, as part of those efforts and the regional effort, to get information to pass along to the Board of Selectmen. So you saw information timely, and that EOC stayed open all weekend long, and they did a great job. And finally, I do want to say, I've been doing this for so long. I mean, it almost like in recent years, we haven't really seen this, but I think Eversource deserves a very special note of thanks. Starting with the participation in the planning efforts through Ronit Goldstein, the representative that takes care of our region, the staging. I think they worked very hard to get equipment from everywhere. We all knew that this was the jackpot for the storm, although it turned out to be Bridgewater, but we knew we were going to be hard hit. And Eversource stepped up, and I felt their staging, their communication, and the performance. Yes, there were a lot of people lost power in this storm, but the rates that it was brought back, I think by last evening, it was 99% of people restored. And those efforts mean something to the community. And when we work with them and things, are managed, properly, I think they're deserving of a mention. So that worked fine. Overall, I was very happy with the efforts, and just proud of, the public safety departments, the DPW, people stepped up, and I know yesterday, we had a tough time around town hall. Everybody came and they were here, and we didn't have power, and the generator was kicking on and it was flickering, and it was cold, like 50 degrees in here, and we got running, people got running, and we're back to normal now. So it's just a little bit on the storm.
Thank you. That was a good report. Does anybody have anything you want to add? No. I just like to commend all the departments that Bob just mentioned, and also I think we often do forget Eversource. They did a really good job as far as I'm concerned. I've been living down here a long time, and I remember Hurricane Bob and some of these other storms we've had, where people down Cape were out of power for over a week. Imagine that, having absolutely no power at all. And I don't know if you remember, Tracy, the blizzard we had where we had the people down that lived around the golf course, the private golf, Blue Rock. And they wanted, they were really complaining, and they wanted us to up our snow budget. Remember that? And I think Bill Hinchy was the TA then, and they had these people coming in from the DPW, from not only here but Barnstable, but they were saying that you can't go too heavy on your snow budget because these big epic storms generally happen about once every 10 years, and so you can't, over budget. They're going to happen. And just from what I've seen, my gut instinct is I think they got people up and running faster in this storm than they usually do. So
The one in October, I think we're out 3 or 4
they deserve a lot of
days,
credit,
and
really,
it
I
wasn't
think.
as cold. So, I mean, I was out a day and it was, I mean, I can't imagine, it was in the 30s inside my house. So, I mean.
Oh, yeah, it was very cold.
Imagine 3 or 4 days and the cost that would be to people with pipes breaking and.
That's what I was afraid of, when those temps get way down like that and there's no heat in the house.
The only thing I want to say to your report, though, is when you said, if you're still having problems, call police dispatch. That does not mean 911. That means the non-emergency line.
Non-emergency number.
Yeah, I think it's 775-0445. So
Yes,
please
correct.
don't call
Thank you.
911.
And safety-wise, I haven't heard any stories about anybody being injured because of electrical wires or trees coming down or anything like
We're
that.
not aware of
So,
any storm injuries. And
Excuse me?
We're not aware of any storm injuries,
No,
and none to
no.
our own personnel,
So-
thank God for
I
that.
was going to ask too about, like, there's a lot of towns that put those parking bans, so to speak, or
Yeah.
call a state of emergency. It's really unfortunate when people are asked to stay off the roads and then they go out, because then now you're putting our employees in danger. It's one thing if you have to go to work, but to the extent possible, some people heed the advice, some people don't. But those people that don't, they should, it's unfortunate because, like I said, our people have to go get them, go help them. They're attending to them while somebody's could be having an emergency elsewhere, or somebody can't get past the road. There should be a way for the town to be able to manage that in some way. I don't know, not a state of emergency, but I don't know. It's completely frustrating when, police are attending to a car that's just somebody's out looking around. And it's not fair. It's very
you always
selfish.
get them too.
It's selfish. And I think that if there was something that the town could do to have them pay for that time, obviously somebody's life, if it, you're taking, like I said, you're taking our emergency services away from people who potentially need it. And it's not right. It's not being a good neighbor, but it happens.
Mhm. Okay, so
I just want to mention also, over the past, couple of weeks, I spent a lot of time working with all of the departments on the town meeting warrant and that whole process. It's been a great process, a lot of fun. And so the warrant's coming together really nicely. I'm looking forward very much to having the board review that next week and, maybe doing the official closure and all that process. But everything's going well. Our budget reviews with the finance committee going very well. We've got another one tomorrow night. We've been going every week. And so things are coming together.
anyone else? All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second,
All those in favor?
just let it be known, Mr. Forrest, that it's 8.
I was going to say that.
Well, he's not here. Maybe we ought to make Mr. Stone.
I was going to say the adjournment was predicted to be 9 o'clock. What time is it officially?
3 minutes up.
I'll be sending Mr. Forrest an email just as to the time of commencement and adjournment.
It was a robust
It
discussion.
was a robust meeting. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.